Hello, friends. We have been discussing Israel-Palestine conflict 23. 30 days, 1 month have passed, and there has been continuous shelling, destruction, killing of civilians, children, women, and Israeli forces have killed 89 staff members of UN. 89, probably a record. They have, of course, killed more than 30 journalists, including 4 of their own. They have destroyed practically the north part of Gaza and asked people to be evacuated to the southern part of Gaza. 1 million people are estimated to have shifted, perhaps one of the world records in such a short period of time. People from their primarily refugee homes getting forcibly evacuated. Now, when this is happening, in between, one of the ministers of Israeli cabinet also said something about using the nuclear option, who thankfully has been asked to leave his ministerial position. Yesterday, the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Bibi Netanyahu, said that after it is over, means most of the people have been either killed or evacuated, they will handle the Gaza security for indefinite time. So like a king, he is already saying that we are going to evacuate everybody and we will make it an Israeli territory and we will look after the security of it. Now, who will look after the social services? That nobody says, because social services have been cut. This is a strange war. It has not happened in 21st century. It has not happened since World War II, that people with whom you live, whose land it was, namely Palestinians, that you can be so rough on them. But be as that may, it depends then on the world opinion. So let us say what the world opinion has been. Now, to give due credit, Mr. Blinken, the Secretary of State, has been going from place to place, and latest he has flown to Lebanon after talking to Qataris and other people, and the Indian Prime Minister has also talked to the Iranian Prime Minister, and everybody is emphasizing, including Iran, that there should be ceasefire, except the great US and some of its companions who voted in UGNA, basically some island states. Even Europe, the other NATO members, did not support. Canada did not support USA. UK did not support. Though UK and Canada keep on repeating the same record that Israel has the right to self-defense. Now, right to self-defense, does it mean you do indiscriminate bombing and kill children and women and people in the hospital, etc., etc., etc.? Don't they have lists? They talk about great intel of Israel, supported by the Four Eyes of USA, etc. They don't have any intel about who the Hamas people are and where are they? Why can't they capture them? What have civilians done? What have children done? So there has been a lot of protest throughout the world now, including in these Western countries, the USA, UK. I think, but UK has had banned the collection of these people. France had also banned. So they have come to the level, they are supposed to be democracies, they have come to the level of stopping demonstrations. In USA, even the persons belonging to Jewish faith have done the demonstration that what is being done is not in the name of Jews. Israeli government is doing it. Israeli Prime Minister is doing it. They are not part of this inhuman thing. Okay, now, Arab states had met and they had said that there ought to be a ceasefire and there should be a window for humanitarian aid. Jordan and Egypt, who are neighbors, have said that they may not be able position to accept the Palestinians as refugees because they already have sufficient number. Jordan, for example, has more than 1 million, and Palestinians are more than the population of the Jordanian Arabs, so that becomes difficult. But they are all for humanitarian aid, and all the Arab states are for ceasefire. Unfortunately, India has voted as absentia in the United Nations General Assembly, just like the other European unions. Are there about 40 members, 120 members supported the proposal for ceasefire. And now let's see. Historically speaking, let's say Hiroshima, the tonnage of the nuclear bomb equivalent, which was thrown on Hiroshima, was 12,000 to 15,000 tons. We try to guess what has been done in Gaza in 1 month by the Israelis. It is also 12,000 tons. Very unfortunate. In such a densely populated area, there are no military targets which are being. There is not a picture of a single military target which has been destroyed. There is not a single picture of any quote-unquote Hamas person whose this thing has been. So these resolutions have meant nothing. On the other hand, the pressure on the US is increasing. And the actions by the countries are as follows, that 16 countries have already withdrawn their diplomats or stopped any diplomatic association. Interestingly, many of them are from South America. Bolivia is there, and Chile is there, Cuba is there, Colombia is there. So generally left of the center countries, Brazil is there. So there is only 1 or 2 small countries left in whole of South America who have not cut their diplomatic relations. On the other hand, the Arab states have not taken that step because they were in the process. First, Abraham Accords, where Israel, Bahrain, UAE, and Morocco signed an agreement of quote-unquote peace with each other. That took a lot of time because the Oslo Accords of 1993 between Israel and Palestinian organization did not lead to any results. So there is some inter-state rivalry also, but Turkey has gone ahead and done 2 things. Turkey has said that they will not have any diplomatic relations with Israel. Now that takes some guts. And then their parliament yesterday has said that to begin with, Coke and Nestle products will not be allowed to be served in public places. And the parliament has done this. Now this is in the context of the BDS, that if UN resolutions don't work, pressure from the neighboring countries, for example, Jordan and Egypt, are today kind of neutralized. The Saudi Arabia will not do something because they have a strained relationship with Iran and it was expecting to improve its relationship. USA and the democratic countries who espouse a lot of democratic values today cannot justify 89 UN people dead who were trying to provide relief. So many of their convoys destroyed. Humanitarian aid not allowed to be reached. Hospitals destroyed. UN schools destroyed. 4 of them. So for them to talk about collective punishment and support it is not agreeable to a lot of people, not a lot of statesmen in the world. They say collective punishment. What do you mean? How can you punish family of a journalist? And how can you punish even a journalist like Dodo, whose 12 members of the family got destroyed, killed, Because when they were asked to move from the north to the south, one refugee camp to the other. And as soon as they reach the next refugee camp, there is a bombardment. How can these liberal value espousers um, support something like this? Now, north of Gaza was one of the most populated countries in the world, and any and every kind of social services have been destroyed, which have not been destroyed elsewhere. Now, on the other hand, the excavations of the most recent bombings were suspended in West Bank when Mr. Blinken was meeting Mr. Abbas. Otherwise, they don't touch the PLO and all that. But now Blinken was meeting. A lot of concerned people, intellectuals, talk about what is Mr. Blinken doing when they don't support ceasefire. They are giving the ammunition to the Israelis to kill kids in Gaza. They're giving, once again, they have approved some $16 billion worth of ammunitions. And total budget of that military support is $100 plus billion, and out of which 60 odd is for Ukraine. For what? For the ammunition, not for humanitarian aid. As if humanitarian work is not required in Ukraine. We can even discuss the comparison. So be that as it may, 47 people died in the latest strikes. Mr. Khamenei has met Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh. Qatar says that hostage release need not, or would need rather, period of calm. Now the new terminology, as if it is branding, is being used as period of calm. USA cannot say ceasefire, they cannot say humanitarian intervals. So now they say so today bombing will be there, 2 days it will not be there, 3 days, 3 days it will be there, and so on. Which means who will get killed? After all, they have been till now doing bombings from the air against a hapless population. This is not hand-to-hand combat. It is not even bravery. So you are just pounding with the aircrafts. They don't have anything else to tackle that aircraft. How can civilians have it anyway? And then they're pounding. So even the issue of ceasefire, which is now supported by world so broadly, USA, Israel, and few island states are one hand, and the rest of the world on the other. But they continue to do it. But the country which is supporting it most, USA, is going around and doing all the diplomatic work. Diplomatic work for what? They have brought their own ships there, so that ships, even with humanitarian supplies, cannot come via the Mediterranean Sea. That's the only access which is there. So now this thing about Mr. Blinken also meeting Iraq, where they had done all this. So very good, he is meeting all of them, but what is he wanting to do with them, one does not know. So in case of Turkey, he went to Turkey also. They sidelined him, and the foreign minister did not even meet him at the airport. But he is doing his job. It looks like some activity must be shown. That's all, some activity is being shown. And meanwhile, what is the impact? Now, Hamas says that over 60 hostages are missing after Israel airstrikes. Mr. Jaishankar, Foreign Minister of India, has talked to the Iran minister. Says will ensure aid for Palestine. That is good. India is also good at aid giving. Its disaster relief organization is very good and all that, and we should do. And otherwise, everybody is saying that Israel should stop all this bombing on the civilians. So the Israel-Palestinian conflict is at critical point. The writers will write amid rising concerns and tensions. The people dying who have died has exceeded 10,000 already in 1 month. out of which 1/3 are children and women. Now, you have to see it from the point of view how many other people it impacts and what is the psychological impact when these children are seeing it. When they grow up, what will they become? How can they ever convince their child's mind, or when they become adults, what is it that they have done because of which their leg has to be amputated, or arm is gone, or skull is hurt? On what basis? What harm have they ever done to anybody? Well, and the hospital services are also bombed out. And even then, the conscience of the so-called liberal value espousing countries is not shaken. Now we can look at the impact of this in terms of economic things and so on. It depends on the probability of this remaining within Israel and Hamas, or Lebanon and Syria getting pulled in, which becomes proxy war, or you can say limited. And then it becomes regional war when Iran gets pulled in, Yemen gets pulled in. And beyond that, if it goes, it's practically then a world war. The manner in which Israel is going, they have achieved their purpose more than sufficient of self-security. If these Hamas people were able to enter and do mayhem, then Israeli forces are equally responsible that they were sleeping. They were sleeping. Their intel they talk about, and the intel of Canada and UK, and even today, if they can't identify the enemy, and they will just go and throw bombs at the civilian population, their intel is nothing. The intel of the Palestinians in Gaza Strip is superior, because ladies and gents were going in buses, working as drivers and maids and so on and so forth, and then coming back in the evening and not allowed to go anywhere else. They had to show passes, etc., as second-class citizens. Obviously, from those homes, they have collected all the information and passed on for processing to some Hamas people. So they had much better intel, because of which they could at least do a targeted bombing. While the Israel, one of the greatest military forces in the world, is not able to do the targeted bombing even. So let's say that about 16 countries have already cut their diplomatic relations. Turkey has started what can be called the sanctions, limited sanctions, boycotting the products. Now, when that starts hitting the pocketbook, then the thing will be there. So, Bloomberg analysis is there that if the war is limited, proxy war or regional war, then we're talking generally of about 0.8% loss of global GDP. It's a little early to fully assess what the impact has been on the GDP, but the information yesterday which has come out is that $7.4 billion has been spent by the central bank of Israel to manage so that the shekel, their currency, does not go down further. It had lost 8% of the value. And if this goes on through the year, they may end up spending $30 billion to stem the loss of the value of the shekel. I sometimes wonder if this 7 billion or 30 billion was spent on humanitarian services in Gaza, what it would have achieved. It would have achieved friendship. It would have achieved peace. And just on that item, because every year $4 billion has been given by USA to Israel for the military equipment and ammunition, etc., etc. So that much money will not have to be spent on the military, as Israel is doing. Its own budget as a percentage of the GDP is one of the largest, perhaps, if not the largest, in the world. It has limited GDP. And if this GDP was spent, this portion was spent on peaceful purposes, what does Israel have to fear from the rest of them? And now, supposing, as Mr. Bibi is saying, that even after destroying Gaza Strip, they will keep a military control over it. That means they'll spend military money. They would not. Who will put it in their brains that they should better spend that money on humanitarian purposes? Resettle these fellows. Neutralize Hamas, and after that, resettle these people. Make them friends. Otherwise, you always have enemies on your border. They may be weaker military point of view from you, but they may be stronger on many other things like guerrilla tactics and so on and so forth. So, economic impact is summarized in the sense of 8% loss of the shekel's value, and it's predicted that the Israeli economy will this year be in the negative zone. We have seen Palestinian economy in the past in 2022, depending on the war and conflicts, their GDP goes up and goes down, and in terms of going up also it is 15%, 20%, for example, second quarter of 2021. So the economy is basically reflecting the state of conflict in the area. And if the state of conflict is low or lower, then there is economic prosperity. So the equation is very, very obvious. Now the fallout from the war, from say Bloomberg, worldwide we expect 1.5% drop up to December, and then OECD overall 1.2%, US 1.3%, China 0.7%, that means lesser impact. India minus 1.2%, relatively less because India's economy is supposed to go for 6.4 and all that. Now, if the overall figure is something like 2%, 2% of $116 trillion is 2.4 or so, more than the economy of Palestine and Israel put together. That will be the loss to the world economy. So this is the economic relationship.